Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Faith, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session for school, S-K-O-O-L, and this is the CPS school.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Join our school community for free to access weekly live Q&A sessions, or participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.
Good afternoon. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and these are my office hours. I'm joined today by two very special guests. And for all of you who have been watching me all of this time, there she is, Miss G, live and in the flesh. She's decided to come on today, even though she's mad at me. She's decided to come on today and join us with another special guest. We have attorney Sly Onea from the great state of, 10,000 Lakes, Minnesota?
You got that right.
You coming from, what city are you in Minnesota?
I'm in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. And you are an attorney that you fight CPS, and we're going to be joining forces together, right?
That is correct.
Okay, do me a favor, since you're new to the platform. Do me a favor and give us a little background about yourself.
Yeah. So I've been licensed here in Minnesota for about 4.5 years. I hold a North Dakota license as well. I attended University of North Dakota School of Law, where I wanted to do, family law and criminal law, and kind of got intertwined down the road with a little bit of both. And I think CPS, depending on the situation, kind of intertwines with criminal elements as well, depending on the allegations. So I primarily focus in family law, and I've been picking up CPS cases here and there, and it's an interesting market to say the very least.
When family law and criminal law have a baby, it's called CPS.
Exactly, right? I'm glad we can agree to that. A lot of people don't really realize that till they're in that unfortunate situation.
Right. Miss G, do you have some questions for Sly and I today?
Well, first of all, Sly, it's a pleasure meeting you. And I'm so happy, you have no idea, to have you on board. At least I can talk to another attorney aside from Attorney Davis, because he does get on my nerves like 99.9% of the time. So
on live, you know that, right? It's on.
Everyone knows. The whole California knows, believe me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I've gone to hearings with Attorney Davis numerous times. I've seen him do fabulous work in court. When it comes to him being the number one attorney, he's the only one I know, only because I've seen results from his work, right? You are a newcomer to this. How long have you been doing CPS? Like how long, what gave you that passion to start doing CPS cases?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, but it's also a great question. I will try my best to not get long-winded with that question. But I think for me, I wasn't intentionally looking for a CPS case. The first CPS case I got was from just marketing for family law, right? And I think a lot of prospective clients need to find a family law attorney because it's such a niche market when it comes to CPS matters. And I think I believe my first CPS client would have been early on when I started practicing law, when I opened up my own law firm. So it would have been about a little over 4 years ago. And I think the problem was it was a mom dealing with two of her kids finding maltreatment, physical abuse. Long story short,
Mm.
I think the grandparent, the grandmother, and the sister to the mom had reported that incident. And I started learning early on that people around you may be your worst enemies when it comes to how they view you as a parent. It's not always the guy across the street who saw you one time in public with your kid and you kind of went off, right? Or you didn't,
Mm.
address the matter in a politically correct way towards the child. It's usually people that know a lot about you and they have some type of vengeance. So I took that case, I ran with it, and I started just picking up CPS cases here and there. Uh, a lot of people are in an unfortunate situation where they can't afford a private attorney,
Yep.
and they do look for a public interest attorney who can afford them their constitutional right to be appointed an attorney for a family law matter like CPS. So,
Right.
yeah.
But you know, around your state, you guys say family law because we call it, because I know there's a difference between family court and CPS court. CPS court treats you separately. You're not like mom and dad, you're completely separate people. And we all know about the Title 4E funding. You know that, where the federal government funds the entities, CPS entities, for stealing one's child. Now, when you got into this, I mean, how did you feel about winning your first case in CPS court? Like, how did you feel after? Did you decide to give all you have towards helping parents?
I was overwhelmed before that even happened.
Yeah.
I did not realize how needy a CPS client could be. And I say that with all due respect.
Yeah.
I would have to put myself in that person's shoes, being deprived the ability to visit my kids as I normally would have prior to the CPS investigation. I think for me, I was just hoping for down the road at some point after several review hearings, maybe we could have a reasonable outcome. It may not be the entire ideal situation for reunification,
Hmm.
but I was just hopeful that we could get through it and not have a client who really hated me or started blaming me for not getting where she wanted. So to answer your question, I was relieved that she finally got to get reunification with her kids. But I also knew it was an uphill battle before I could see the light at the end of the tunnel because there was a lot of things that caseworkers can stack against you. You got your back against the wall in a nutshell. And the county attorneys, they're in cahoots a lot with the, caseworkers. And,
Yep.
it's just sometimes I felt like those hearings were pointless and useless, but I had to keep in mind that the objective was a marathon, not a race. And me finding that out, my first CPS case, was a bit of a struggle because you're trying to figure it out, but you don't want to tell your client, hey, I'm not too sure how this is going to end. But at the same time, there's enough law, hopefully, that's on your side to make a good case. And that's what I was fortunately able to have on my
And
agenda.
I'm glad that you said that. Actually, I feel comfortable about you. I'm really good at judging people from first time I meet them. And too bad I didn't judge Davis back then. But jeez. neither here or there. But I am happy because you're teaming up with Davis, and Davis he's going to teach you a lot, and he's going to be a great partner with you, basically, like teaching you the ropes, the strategy that's needed to win and to be able to fight for parents' rights. You're on board with that, right? I mean, you already he's the master of the master of the master of the master. Like he's literally, yes, we fight all the time, but as an attorney, I have nothing to say bad about him. Nothing. He's great. He's a great, 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 great attorney. And you are going to learn a lot from him. And I can't wait to see you win each and every case. I'm being honest.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I love having the bar set that high. You know,
I wouldn't say, believe me, I say what's on my mind, regardless. I don't care if you're the president sitting in front of me. I don't care. I say what's on my mind. And my heart is in this because there's a lot of people who are crying out for help. You know, a lot of people. And I've seen a lot of, how can I say it? And Davis used to argue with me on that. But then later on, he said, oh, Miss G was right. They team up. You did say it on live. Thank you. Yeah, I have the video. I share it a lot with people. Thank you. He said, I mean, I said on the show, I said that they all team up together, right? The social workers, court appointed attorneys, the district attorneys, guardian ad litem, nurses, therapists, all that, right?
Social workers, yeah.
Oh, social work, of course. Social workers is the main demonic, entities. But the thing about it is, people, when they call me, they say, oh, Miss G, the social worker said I'm going to have reunification services. When are you going to have it? Oh, 6 months from now. I said, why would they wait 6 months? Why? Why would they do that? Then I tell her they're playing games with you. They're playing games with you. They're playing games with you. But the thing about it is, depending on how old the child is, that's when you need to worry, right? If your child is 17, 16, that should be not a big problem, right? But when your child's an infant and then until up to age 11, that's when the child is adopted, right? It's adoptable. So in your state, have you seen a lot of adoption from that age, group age, from infant to age 11?
I have. I've primarily seen, I think if I had to do a median age, probably between the ages of 6 to probably like 10 or 11. But just to follow up on what you just said with the older group, I've had a case where there was a 17-year-old involved, and that was a very strategic position I had to take as far as taking the case and what reunification would look like, and doing the pros and the cons. So yeah, I mean, it's usually primarily that early group from 0 to 11, but with I draw a line, and I draw questionable investigation and validity when they do bring in a CPS case. And by the way, as we're saying CPS, here in Minnesota, we call it CHIPS, but it's interchangeable, right? And CHIPS is just Child and Protective Services. And so when I've dealt with some CHIPS cases, I always draw the line. Okay, you took one kid, you removed one kid, and you put that kid in foster care. But there's two other kids in the house that are still there. And if this person's such a terrible and hostile parent, why didn't you remove the other two? And those other two kids were present when the alleged incident occurred. So I always like pick holes and stuff like that, or at least get further into the why. And but yeah, the average, I would say the median age is around 6 or 7. But yeah, I've had older groups as well.
And also, have you noticed that in the hospitals, I know, Davis, we'll get to you 1 second. In the hospitals, they also, like, all of a sudden the mother has drugs in the system, right? And what I've seen evidence of this. I have 3 whistleblowers, by the way. Seen evidence of this where the supervisor would text the social worker, tell her, go to the hospital. The mother has no money. She's on Medi-Cal. They have this person that works in the hospital, social worker that works in the hospital. She would go to the mother's room, ask her if she needs diapers and formula when she leaves the hospital, and if she has a job, all that stuff. And then the mothers, of course, would say, no, I don't have a job. My husband left me, or whatever the case may be. Then they notify the social worker. That social worker notifies, Department of Children and Family Services, and tell them there's a potential, adoptive child, right? You can get them adopted. This is the age of the child. I mean, this is the health of the child, et cetera, et cetera. Then all of a sudden, when the social workers come to the room, they say that there was drugs in the system. The mother has proved there was no drugs in the system, right? But they fabricate information because they know that mother cannot hire an attorney to help her, because they ask the questions before they involve the social worker. So they have somebody in the hospital that actually would ask the questions for them. Then she or he would notify the Department of Children and Family Services. This is true information I'm giving you. These whistleblowers took pictures, evidence, before they resigned, from LA County. One is Sacramento, the other one is LA County. They took pictures and evidence of the emails, of the text messages from the supervisors, all of that. They were working there for a year and some months. One was 6 months. The other one was like, I don't know, a year and 18 months. I don't remember, but they worked there, right? But over a year. But they resigned because they cannot they couldn't sleep at night doing what they're doing. So I said to Davis one time on a show that the ones that remain there are the ones that want the abuse to happen. The ones that remain in the Department of Children and Family Services, working there for years and years and years, those are the ones who don't mind inflicting pain on innocent families. And that's when he, objected with me. But then later on he said, hey, Ms. G, I think you're right. Because there's not one of them that does the right thing, the most decent thing, because they know they're going to lose the funding. They're going to lose the funding. A social worker went to one of our clients' house yesterday. She took a video. Her husband took a video. The social worker was driving a red Corvette convertible model 2024. Back when I was a teenager, social workers were driving a beat down Honda. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that they will do anything for money. They will do anything for money. So the other day, I found out that Biden pardoned a judge that sold kids for cash. He was in jail. He took him out and pardoned him. He was found guilty, getting profit for putting these kids into foster homes. He was getting millions of dollars in profits. So he was found guilty, but Biden pardoned him the other day. There's a lot going on with our government. There's a lot going on with trafficking children. There's a lot that I'm finding out through CPS. Cartels become foster parents because that's the closest thing to children. There were children in New Jersey that were being sex trafficked. The foster parents had sex offenders records on them, and this is all over national television, not just social media. And what happened was the social worker knew that home was bad, but she still placed the children there, ages 9 and 11. So there's a lot that needs to be done. And there's, I recommend everyone hiring a private investigator, to be honest with you, because that private investigator will do a lot of back work that you as an attorney need. And I'm saying this slide for a reason, because I have seen the corruption. I know what goes on behind closed doors. They have in LA County, and I know this for a fact too, once they know Attorney Davis is hired on a case, they're shedding bricks. And they do this meetings, right? They have these meetings that, shit, he's on the case. Now what do we do? This is what we need to do. He always starts out like this. So they think they know his strategy. Davis doesn't start off the same way every court hearing, right? It's not the same. Davis is different. He uses case-by-case strategy. And while I'm driving him to court, he's already thinking about the strategy in his head. Because I remember, because one time I was talking to him, he's like, "Be quiet, I'm thinking about the case. Don't talk to me." I was like, "Yeah, all right." But you know what I'm saying? He's already, like, in his mind, he's like brilliant. He's like a brilliant when he knows what to do. Those people have no idea what's in his head, right? If they knew what's in his head, they would have shoot themselves. The reason I'm saying that, because they will never possess what he has. Never. They will never get what he has up here when it comes to winning cases. The only one that is dangerous to the case, and I'm telling you this lie right now, are the clients. Because Attorney Davis, or you might say to your client, "Don't do this. Don't talk to the social workers without me. Do not interact with the social workers." And what do? They talk to the social workers. When they lose the case, then they blame it on the attorney. And they have all this kind of crap to say. But do you understand what I'm saying, Sly? I'm sure you've come across these type of people, right? Where they're listening to other people telling them what to do, but they're not listening to your advice and telling them what not to do.
Of course.
Right? So you believe, now you understand what I'm saying. The corruption is deeper than people think, yet they don't want to listen to the attorney that his heart is in it to win for them. And that's why I asked you from the beginning, is your heart in this? What gave you that urge to do this? Because what gave Davis the urge to do this is because he was taken away from his mom. And he didn't see his mom until I think he was in law school. And he knew the pain being without his mom. He cried for his mom, just like a normal child. He was 3 years old. So he knew the pain. He knew it. So he wants to win because he doesn't like to lose. He wants to win so every mother and child can be reunited, right? Now, that's why he always emphasizes, don't do anything against what I'm telling you to do to the clients. And I honestly say this, any one of you guys, any attorney who's a newcomer, right, all over the United States, you guys are literally privileged to be siding with Davis, working next to him. And I say this with all due respect to all of you guys out there, but you guys will never possess half of what he has unless your heart is in it. And that's all I need to say.
Thank you, Miss G.
She does speak like an attorney.
And by the way, I'll have your check for you for all those kind words you said about me.
There you go.
I want to tell you a quick story, mainly for the audience and for you as well, Sly. A few weeks ago, a woman called me and wanted to hire me to do a case for her in another county. And she told me about the case, and I came up with a little brief outline of a strategy before I got the discovery from the court. And the day before the hearing, she said she decided she wasn't going to hire me because the court-appointed attorney had contacted her and told her that you don't need to hire Davis. Everything will be fine. Well, she went to the first court hearing, and the detention hearing is what they call it here in California, and she didn't get the child back. And she texted me and she said, "I just want to let you know what happened. I didn't get the child back like you thought I could, but the attorney, the court-appointed attorney, told me, if I just do what the social worker and the judge said, I'm going to get the child back." So, I said, "Well, good luck, God bless," and I wasn't really communicating with her. Apparently, the next court date comes up, and she doesn't get the child back. And they tell her, just do what the social worker says, you'll get the child back in 6 months. Okay. And of course, she's now distraught because she's not going to get the child back for 6 months. And they told her, and this is the biggest lie in all of CPS cases all over the country. They told her if you just do the if you plead no contest and do the disposition case plan, that you'll get your kid back in 6 months. That is sold to, I'd say, 95% of parents in this country, and it simply isn't true. And there's a lot of reasons why it isn't true, and we won't go into that today, but it's just not true. So now the lady is wondering, well, why didn't my attorney implement the strategy that you were going to implement? And I couldn't answer that question because I don't know the attorney. But generally it's because, they don't have the time nor the inclination to do that, to do what I do. Or sometimes they don't know, what they should be doing. I did a case, it's been a couple of months now, but I informed the attorneys on the case what the law was at the disposition hearing. All of them looked at me like I was crazy, like I was a, alien from Mars. And I'm not sure if they didn't know it or didn't know how to implement it or didn't know what witnesses to bring to win. And to be honest with you, during the trial, I had a couple, discussions with the judge, arguments with the judge about what the law was. And she never said this, but the judge at one point, I got the feeling, didn't believe me when I said when I quoted the law. Because sometimes, you get used to doing something all the time and you forget what the statute actually says. And this is the example I'll give to you. In California, and I'm sure in your state, because it's a federal requirement under the federal regulations, at the disposition hearing, you can't take a child away from a parent unless the social worker proves two things by clear and convincing evidence. Mm-hmm. This is like one of two times clear and convincing evidence will ever be brought up in the CPS statute scheme. They have to prove by clear and convincing evidence that you're a substantial danger to the child. Not a risk, not a substantial risk, not a danger, a substantial danger. Now, Sly, do you realize what kind of person you have to be a substantial danger by clear and convincing evidence? You got to be one bad MF. Okay. Mm-hmm. And most of these people you meet are not that person. No. The second thing, and this is what I won my case on, although I should have won it on the first prong. The second prong is the social worker has to prove by clear and convincing evidence that there are no less restrictive alternatives to foster care placement. Now, I won the case using this alternative. I said, oh, Judge, the grandmother who used to live like 2 miles away will now move into the mother's house if you return all of the children. And she will watch and be the eyes and ears. Judge said, oh, that's a pretty good idea. And the other thing on cross-examination, I asked the social worker, I said, hey, man, what other less restrictive alternatives did you consider before making a recommendation of suitable placement in foster care? He thought about it for a minute. He kind of knew it was a trick question, but he knew where I was going, so he just faced it head on. And his answer was, I didn't consider any other alternatives. Well, right there, by statute definition, I should have won. But they made me go on, and do more to prove the case, to win the case. And that's okay. But the law says clear and convincing evidence, substantial danger, no less restrictive alternatives. I will bet you $1 that whenever you go into a courtroom, you will never hear those terms. Although I bet you $1, it's in the Minnesota codes. You know why I know that? Because it's U.S. constitutionally required that you must use clear and convincing evidence of this substantial danger before you can take a kid away at the disposition hearing. A lot of people don't know that. I did the case that I did, when I did this case, the county counsel on the case and I had the same argument maybe 15 years ago. in another courtroom. And when I told the judge what I thought the law was, she stopped the case, got up, grabbed her code book, and went in her chambers. Came back and said, Mr. Davis is right. And she kind of looked at the county council like, she didn't say this, but it was a look like, you've been misleading me for the past 18 months because you've been arguing substantial risk by a preponderance.
I was with you, I think, that day, right, Vincent?
I don't recall, but substantial danger by a preponderance is the standard if the kid is already with a parent. But if you want to place this kid in a foster home or even a relative's home, it's substantial danger by clear and convincing evidence, not substantial risk. And you say, well, what's the difference? Well, there's a big difference. If I look at you the wrong way, I could be a risk to you. But to be a substantial danger to you, again, you have to be one bad person to be a substantial danger. So I'm saying all of this to say this, Sly. One of the things that is used against you in CPS cases, and it is social and peer pressure. Anytime you have an organization of people of two or more, right, there becomes social dynamics, social hierarchies, all that kind of stuff you learned, in psychology or sociology in college. It's a real thing. And when you go into these courtrooms where most of these people work together every day, there are relationships and there is social pressure. So when you come in, that's one of the things that sometimes I think county council are trained to use against you to make you feel bad that you're fighting, or to make you feel bad that you're not going along with something to get along. Right? Well, that never was my issue, because in my personality and the way I grew up, I mean, if you don't disagree with me, great, we're going to have a good time fighting. Right? But a lot of people, when they feel that pressure, that social pressure that, hey, I better not have a trial, going to make the judge upset, going to make the county council upset, going to make the other attorneys upset. And all of a sudden they come up with an excuse to their client.
Yep.
Oh, we shouldn't have a trial because blah, blah, blah.
You're going to lose. You're going to lose if you have a trial. That's what they say.
Have I ever told a client that if you have a trial, you're going to lose? Yeah, I have. I have. I mean,
I have never heard you say that.
Some cases, all right. Some cases are you're just in a bad spot. But a lot of times, even if I tell the client I think we're going to lose, we go forward anyway for appellate reasons and setting a record, and because there's other considerations regarding what reunification services you're going to have to do. For example, sometimes I get on a case that's involving domestic violence, and there's no drugs or alcohol, and they want the person to do drug and alcohol testing and drug and alcohol counseling. Yeah. It's not supported by the law. There's no allegation to it. And, sometimes I say that in court and they look at me like, well, who are you? Like, where'd you come from? Did you know that if you're a parent in a domestic violence case, they're going to order you to do domestic violence counseling, maybe even parenting? Everybody does parenting, but then they'll want you to do substance abuse and drug testing. Do you know why that is? Because they make money. When they offer services, they turn in a bill or they draw from the federal government money to keep the child safe, whatever we have to do. Keep the child safe. There was a case, I won't say the county, but in California, there's a huge lawsuit. And what this county was doing at the beginning of every case, when they detained the child, either male or female, they took the child to a local children's hospital and gave the child a sex abuse examination. All right. It wasn't a sex abuse case, but you getting examined. And I don't know if you know anything about the literature on how traumatizing that can be, but what they were doing, and I forget the numbers, but I'll give you an example. The hospital was charging like $1,000 to do the exam to the county, but the county was billing the federal government like $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Guess where the 4% or $4,000 profit went? Into the county's pocket. When I'll never forget, because I was reading the transcripts and a friend of mine was on this lawsuit and he told me about it. When the federal judge in that area found out what the county was doing, he was outraged. You know, he could see if it was a sexual abuse case, but if it wasn't a sexual abuse case, why are you looking in, these girls' vaginas, and why are you looking in these boys', anuses? What reason do you have other than money? And look, I've heard all the arguments. We can spin anything to say we're protecting children. And if it was true, I'd say, well, let me think about that. But it's not even true. The social workers on the line, on the field, boots on the field, they have been told to go out and do God's work and protect children.
Their God is the devil. Let me just say that right now.
And no matter what it is, whatever you do, to protect children is okay. There on YouTube is a famous, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the federal circuit here in the West, has had an oral argument. And this was the lawsuit. The parents sued for violations of civil rights because the social worker had lied, committed perjury in her report and on the witness stand. And there's qualified immunity, right? But, lying on the stand, how could that be qualified protected conduct? So the county lost the case. They appealed. And if you go to this video on YouTube and watch the oral argument, there's this woman attorney arguing why social workers should get immunity, even if they lied to the judge in the trial court. Yeah, yep. She argued that. And at the end of the argument, it was like the justices are sitting up there looking at her like, who sent you as the sacrificial lamb to make such an argument like that? Like, get out of here.
I'll send you the video, Sly.
But the interesting thing is that this county and these lawyers went forward with that argument in front of the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I say that to say this. Social workers will do anything they think is right to protect children, even if it violates your rights, because that's how they're trained, in my opinion. The people at top who train them to be God's warriors are doing that to make money. I don't think the primary reason is to save or protect children. It's funny how protection of children and money, making money, how they kind of blend sometimes. You may not know this about me, Sly, but before I became a lawyer, I was a certified public accountant. And I worked for a firm that's now known as Deloitte. Back then it was Deloitte Haskins and Sells, and before that it was Haskins and Sells. But guess what? One of our biggest clients in the LA office was the County of Los Angeles. And one of the things I learned from being on the county job or being in the office was, the county was like the counties are businesses. They are there to make money.
Of course.
Just like, McDonald's, just like, Walmart, just like Target. They're there to make money. That is the goal of the county. Now, they make money differently, but it's still a business to make money.
True.
And in California, in LA County, it's a county of more than 10 million people.
Sorry to interrupt you, but Sly has an appointment in a few minutes.
Okay. Sly,
so I just wanted to remind you not to talk to your Attorney Davis. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'll stop. I forgot.
It's
Sly.
Okay. This has been good conversation so far. I like this.
Sly, we'll pick this up maybe tomorrow or the next day, and we'll have you on again, office hours. And at some point, think about this, having your own show, having people from Minnesota call you and asking you questions just on the show.
He can be on my show.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that, Miss G. I think the G stands for greatness.
Oh.
I'm just trying to be humble here and lifting up Vince. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I love that.
He doesn't see it that way. He's
Sly, do this.
That's
Wipe your nose off, Sly.
he's not. He doesn't kiss us. He doesn't. He doesn't do that. I would love to have you on my show. Seriously, if you're gonna be on my show, I would do it every day.
Hey, that's awesome. I love
I
that.
swear to God, I would do it every day. Yeah.
Okay. I would love that. I would love
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sly, so much. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Thank you both for your time. And I appreciate the privilege of being on this show. And I look forward to going live again with you both.
Alrighty, folks.
Thank
We'll
you.
see everyone on the next office hours. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Sly.
Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Babe, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. This is a question and answer session for school, SKOOL, and this is the CPS school.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Join our school community for free to access weekly live Q&A sessions, or participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.